Hey,
You.
yeah, you. Do you know what day it is of the week of 2021, May 2020? Why do I say 2 years?
Just say it's Friday, man. Just say it's Friday.
It's Friday! And you know what that means? That means Tier List Fridays, TLF. And boy, has a lot of comments popped up with the range DPS. Well, what do you know? What are we doing?
We're kind of done with range DPS, and today we're done with melee DPS. That's what I said. And now we're looking at range DPS, the fun aspect of it. Okay, so this is entirely subjective. We're gonna Mythic Plus, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't I say that? I didn't say that. That's fine. You knew I was up. Mythic Plus range tier list ranked in terms of fun. In our perspective, obviously, it's probably not gonna be the same for you, but you will let us know.
Yeah, because fun for us means like 80%. Rotation, class mechanics, class fantasy, and all that, and 20% damage and utility.
Yeah,
so just the
kind of that's the exact percentage. We actually had a meeting beforehand.
Yeah, we have spreadsheets and shit. But you know what? Let's go into
let's just do it. Let's just Affliction.
Affliction Warlock, baby.
Okay.
Wait, Affliction popped up somewhere. It is somewhere, mostly in raids, not that much in Mythic Plus, but still.
I actually recently played a little bit more Affliction because reasons you will see on YouTube soon. But Affliction is not that bad in dungeons. Obviously a little bit better than BFA in terms of fun, because one of the main issues with Affliction is that it has the concept of ramping up your damage to explode, and that's not really fun rotational wise when you have to like tap dot. So a lot of micromanaging with the dots and shit. And every time we talk about a ramp up class, it's problematic in Mythic Plus when it is everything is fast paced. It's now.
Yeah, and maybe that would kill the fun in this context of dungeons, but I still believe the way Affliction kind of always worked is like, you know, micromanaging your dots and, you know, just exploding at some point. I find that fun.
It is fun. See, that's the thing, because the tools that are essentially designed for a Mythic Plus are not that well balanced now, but they did receive a bunch of buffs in 9.1, and you will see a video about that. But for instance, you have Seed of Corruption, which actually spreads corruption on everywhere, and that's kind of what you need in dungeons, because now with Malefic Rapture, which before you still had to like spread dots just to damage, but now you have to do like at least Agony and Corruption on all the packs, and when you do like that first pack in Halls of Atonement, and the first pack and the other side, you dot 10 targets, man, with 2 dots each. That's 20 GCDs. By that time, the things are dead.
Yeah.
And now you just spam
fire mages. What?
Yeah. Who? No. And then you spam Malefic Rapture, which is kind of fun. But let me tell you, that out of the way, seeing how you melt bosses is glorious. It's one of the best feelings to see, like just do that.
That's why I like so much Assassination Rogue. You know, just starting to see that all that work you put in just starting.
Yeah, that actually pans out.
That's great.
But obviously,
where do we place it?
Okay, so in terms of fun, because obviously D is we would never play it in a main type context or even alt. S is probably definitely something that we were going to be playing, and for me, Affliction, I think it's around a B, a very solid B spec. Probably at the top. I would definitely have fun playing it every now and again. I probably couldn't play it regularly as an alt, but it is fun.
Okay, so B tier, nothing to sneeze at, but let's check out the Arcane Mage, see how we placed this one. And I don't know how much you played Arcane Mage this time around. I know Matt, you know, our editor partner here, plays most of the Mage, a lot more of the Arcane. I dabbled a little bit into it. It does feel quite a significant change in, at least in the quote-unquote skill level when compared to like BFA when I played it a bit more. So in that regard, I kind of love it, you know, mana management and stuff.
That I always found that very fun.
It's cool, right? It's cool. Yeah. It's unique as well, because...
Can you imagine telling yourself 20 years ago, it's like, hey man, you're going to play an RPG and spending mana is going to be unique.
Yeah. I mean,
can you imagine that?
At some point in the game, you know, everybody needed to watch their mana, including hunters, believe it or not.
Yeah, I remember the times. I used to have intellect staffs because it gave me more mana. What are you talking about?
That's true. But now, this is like kind of the unique flavor of this pick. Obviously, it's not the most complicated, but it's not the most easiest either.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly easy, no.
Yeah, a lot of the people come from this space, or where, you know, there's like a lot of like boomkins, you know, fire mages, even shadow priest or hunters and stuff. You know, it's different. Like once you get into the arcane mage, and I think that has a big plus in our book, right? I mean, we can talk about the damage. It can pump some serious damage AOE. It has its utility, but
Yeah, it's obviously has the major utility, but I did want to say something specific to 9.0 because it's gonna go away 9.1. Prideful is very good for Arcane Mage because you have unlimited mana where you don't need to care about the mana and you will pump. Have you seen the dude doing 140k touch of the Magi, man?
I haven't seen it, but it sounds very interesting.
It all DPS of Fire Mage just because you just sink all that damage to a touch of the Magi. It is crazy, and that's probably because of how fun it is to play with that Prideful where you just generate like mana infinitely. You never have to probably do evocation or fire up arcane barrages. The concept of Arcane Mage is fun. When I played it in beta, I was like, okay, this looks like a spec that I could main.
True.
The damage profile is a little bit off, I feel. Obviously, it's losing a little bit to Fire Mage, and that's probably what's keeping it a little bit on the down low. But I feel, for me, I think I can honestly say that Arcane Mage is one of the most fun mage specs that I can play.
Yeah, I'm voting for S tier.
You're voting it for S tier.
You probably went for A tier.
S tier.
So,
okay.
So put it into A tier.
I wouldn't say it's a S tier. Would you main Arcane Mage though?
It's fun. Yeah, I would because I'm thinking, you know, damage aside, it's a 20% utility and all that, but definitely up my alley in terms of casters. So.
Well, color me surprised.
We'll keep it in front of the pack over there. We'll see how things evolve. But let's move along to one of the most in-depth specs the game has ever seen in World of Warcraft and all RPGs.
Oh my god, this always happens. Beastmastery Hunter.
Okay, Beastmastery Hunter. Right. I'll give the benefit of the doubt because Beastmaster Hunter played right in PvP, specifically arenas, is a whole different dish than playing it in PvE.
Okay, so it's like you keep saying, it's not about necessarily complexity, but it is about how that translates into fun.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, the rotation is not that engaging. It's not. There's not a lot of depth into it, but it's kind of the Fury warrior of range specs because it's very simple. You are all over the place. Everything you can do is on the move. No other spec in the game can do that except for a melee.
Big fun component because of that.
Yeah, well, think about it. You'll never be hit by any mechanic ever.
Yeah, and still do damage.
And still do 100% of your damage. I feel Beastmaster is fun. It's not something that I would main, but it's definitely something that can take me out of the zone. Just like I just want to think about stuff. Let me just beast cleave and hit all those mobs. And obviously you have all the hunter cool stuff like the traps, and you can feign death so many mechanics.
You're gonna main survival next patch. You better keep that fucking Beastmastery for arenas. Don't give me no shit.
Yeah, well, Beastmastery is the go-to spec when I'm not playing survival on my hunter. So for me, Beastmastery is a solid A tier. It's around Arcane Mage fun. It's not as fun as Arcane Mage, but it is more fun for me than Affliction Warlock.
All right. Put it behind the Arcane Mage because we'll see. Maybe we'll move Arcane Mage. Who would have thought that, man? Who would have thought that? Yeah, who would have thought? But hey, you know, it's our opinion of fun here. So if you like it, fine. If not, let us know in the comments. You will. All right, now let's check out the meta because fuck the meta. Boomkin, baby. Boomkin. Now I'm just gonna start it off like this. I do not like Boomkin. I have tried it. I don't like the mechanics. I don't necessarily like the class fantasy. I don't like how it looks, and I really don't understand this concept of a Moonkin. And that being said, for me, I'm gonna say it here. I'm gonna let you talk in a minute. That being said, for me, Boomkin is a solid C tier. I played it. It's not in the D category where I will never touch it. I'm probably gonna try give it a chance again, but for me, it's a C tier. That being said, let's hear Flame's thought on it and let's just mix the opinions. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
All of the no's and the dislikes are a very good segue into talking about this spec. Personally, I like Boomkin in terms of how fun it is to play in dungeons. I like it more in dungeons than in raid, although it is performing better in raids overall than in dungeons. I feel like just maintaining the dots and doing Starfall and casting on the move and doing all the druidy things is fun. So as for the concept, I mean, we have Vulpera, man. Like who?
But Vulpera is not a class or a spec. It's just, you know,
it's a fat chicken. I like the astral playstyle of it. I wish they had New Moon as a viable spell because it just looks super awesome to see like that comet of a moon just smashing down into the ground. It is fun. I would have put it around A tier, but since you're C tier, I think we can compromise and put it into B tier.
All right.
Behind Affliction. I feel like it still has a lot of things going for it. The damage is fun. The spec for me, I like the fantasy of it, but I probably would not main it too much. It would probably get boring for me after a while.
Yeah, because fuck the meta. And listen, instead of this whole Moonkin specialization or
It's
whatever. How
specialty.
about change this motherfucker to Night Warrior, something that really makes sense. Or so you know where you get that fucking Ali bullshit.
Surrounded priestess of the moon type
It's just,
thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. That would make much more sense for a fucking Druid who worships Saloon than this astral chicken, whatever.
They do worship a loon.
Yeah, but it doesn't show you're just a fat fucking owl. How does that translate to a loon? But that's another video topic. Let's move along to
We're definitely gonna have a video
Warlock.
on it. Demonology Warlock is one of my favorite Warlock specs.
I know, what a shock!
It has the fantasy. I mean, come on, man. We've seen demons in Warcraft since Warcraft 2.
No,
and
it's beautiful.
It
looks nice.
It kind of lost a little bit of the flavor that it had over the years because I really liked having like a permanent Infernal as a pet or permanent Doomguard as a pet. That was pretty cool. Obviously, it was a little bit weird because you kind of lost the feel that Doomguard was supposed to be the shit. Although we did summon a Doomguard in a raid once, and that was pretty cool as a pet. It did so much damage. It was pretty cool. The main issue that I have with Demonology is again a similar issue that I have with Boomkin is that the talents are not particularly balanced. There's the Nether Portal talent, which I still hold strong to this day that they should need to buff that because god damn it, that's not a if it isn't cool to see like an army of demons, different demons, and have Jaraxxus and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I like that shit.
That's pretty cool.
But it would fuck up a lot of people's PC, so you know you have to give or take or somewhere. But I think the fantasy is there. I think the rotation just by saw you play when you do
it's really fun.
It looks really cool and shit, and it has a really nice fusion between spells and imps and dreadstalkers and whatever. I don't know. It feels different, and I'm always down for something that plays a little bit more different than your traditional, spam firebolts and frost bolts and all of that. So just as an outsider, I would see it at least as an A tier, but you have.
I was gonna put it into S tier.
Put it on S tier.
Warlock is one.
Put it on Demonology S tier. Fuck it. That's it.
Can you imagine the type of comments we're gonna have, man? Demonology S tier.
It's a fun tier list. Okay, it's what we consider.
We like Demonology,
so we really like the spec. He has a lot of hands-on on it. I'm gonna trust the man's opinion on this. All right, let's move along to the brother from another mother,
Warlock.
the Destruction Warlock. And,
okay,
yes.
well, I've played a lot of this in BFA for undisclosed reasons, nothing to do with corruptions. No.
Yeah,
this Destruction feels like I like it more in raids because I like Chaos Bolts.
Yeah, it's one of the most cool and impactful spells in the game.
It's satisfying. It's fun on bosses. The thing is, it had something really good going for it initially in I think in late beta where they made Rain of Fire an actual thing, but they kind of systematically nerfed it because it was doing a little bit too much damage, but it was fun to play with and change from just spamming Chaos Balls to just putting Rain of Fire. When you have like 3 Rains of Fire stacked on top of each other, just see like an actual rain of meteors falling down. That's actually pretty cool in dungeons.
Cool, but I also like spamming Chaos Bolts and
that's also pretty cool.
With Chaos Bolts, seeing like both of the heads going into targets and stuff. It looks cool. It feels right.
It's simple. It's easy to get into. Obviously, it does take a little bit to master it properly. And with the Havoc buffs right now, it really keeps you engaged into the spec. I always liked Destruction a little bit more than Affliction. I think it's a very solid A tier. As to where to put it, maybe between Arcane and Beastmastery. I like it a little bit more than Beastmastery, but Arcane still feels like
I agree,
the more interesting spec.
Yeah, plus, in terms of class fantasy, you cannot really go wrong with the
Warlock. Well, I mean, that's Ner'zhul, that's Gul'dan,
It's a lot of meat and potatoes in terms of class fantasy for the Destruction Warlock. So, yep, definitely high up the chart. Now, Elemental Shaman, which you played quite a lot.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna say my piece again as an outsider for it. I would put it close to S or A, just purely on how it looks and how the sounds are for this spec. It's so amazing.
It is.
But I'm so afraid to get into it. It's like
it's not as hard as Unholy, which you said that you wanted to get into. Elemental is a builder spender. It has a very satisfying spending mechanic. Like one of the most satisfying spending mechanics. Earth Shock hits like a truck, and it makes that cool earthy sound effect that very few other specs in the game have. Earthquake is another. Earthquake is a little. It feels a little less impactful, but it does a lot of damage. And if the tank, if your tank can keep shit in the fucking Earthquake, you will undoubtedly be number one on the meters because Earthquake deals a lot of goddamn damage. The elementals are awesome. The fantasy of it is awesome. I think they're really nailing the breaking the world apart into like cracks and shocks and lightning stuff.
Nature,
and Stormkeeper, when you chain lightning with Stormkeeper and you see like lightning bolts everywhere,
Oh,
like,
it looks
that's a
so
little
cool.
Palpatine vibe, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool for me.
It's Italian now.
Yeah. Elemental was always pretty high up for me as a fun spec. I like the playstyle of it. It did need a little bit of damage to feel really cool in Mythic Plus, and it did get that. So for me, Elemental is S tier.
Let's put it onto S tier for sure.
I'm having a hard time where it is. I think I'll just put it behind it because I still like Demo despite the fact that it doesn't have as much damage as Elemental.
No problem, no problem. Now let's get into a bit of a meta territory here with the Fire Mage, and this will be a very controversial topic for sure, but I like Fire Mage. I always liked it. I'm gonna say that, you know, initially I started playing it much more in arenas, like before it was super popular and stuff, when everybody was playing Frost Mage, you know, with Deep Freeze and Counterspell Blanket Silence, you know, that's a different story. Currently, as a spec that kind of feels it's designed for Mythic Plus, to be honest, just because of Kindling, not anymore in 9.1, but I just love the fantasy of it. You pop combust and you just demolish shit once every minute. You do that and it's fine. The downside of it is, and I will give it the downside, outside of that window, you're pretty much dog shit, and it doesn't feel right, not fun-wise, not class fantasy-wise, nothing. I think it really lacks, in terms of the fantasy, it really lacks something that actually keeps things burning.
Yeah, the old I think the BFA Ignite, I want to say something, I'll let you finish on the Fire Mage. Just to summarize, for me, Fire Mage is probably a solid D tier. And hear me out. The coolest thing that the Fire Mage does is Meteor and Phoenix Flames. Combustion is cool, but the fact that it takes so much, it puts so much damage into it and you're so useless outside of it, it's a big downside. It's kind of one of the reasons why this Destruction Warlock is not higher on the list for me, because I don't like specs that just blast on cooldowns and then just do nothing.
Red Paladin?
What? Who? and now that you said that, there's another issue with Fire Mage with the current content, which it doesn't really feel fun, because this is probably what people don't understand of why Fire Mage is meta, because Fire Mage actually pops when you pull consistently 3 to 5 to 6 packs into one combustion. That's what you do. If you don't do that, if you pull like pack to pack like regular specs, Fire Mage will be out DPS by pretty much almost all of the specs in the game, and that just shows that the way that is designed to take advantage of the fact that Flame Strike is uncapped, and that actually takes a little bit away from me from the fun, because if I'm not playing with a tank that I know he will be or she will be pulling like half of the dungeon every time I have combust, that feels a little bit shit. I do like how it looks when you pop combustion. That's so freaking satisfying. But that's the thing, it's so cool when you have combustion that when you're outside it just feels like a wet noodle, and that discrepancy between it kind of kills it for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. I would have put it into an S tier just because the fun element is there, but it does drop a little bit in terms of the fantasy when you're not having combust, because things don't really burn around you. You're not really a fire mage, you're just a fireball spammy boy, and it's, you know, it cut out the fun. But just to meet middle ground, I think it's safe to put into a B tier behind Affliction and Boomkin.
Like here?
Yeah, because I played it, I still like it in PvP too.
It has potential. I feel like they're missing the mark with its design and making it really fun. They're just putting so much emphasis on combustion when it can do like dragon's breathy things, like actually make it matter. Like she spawn a dragon's head and spit in front of you, but it doesn't do as much damage.
It's not too meta for us in terms of fun.
But Frost Mage though, this is probably where we agree a little bit more, and I'll go first, but because I've played it a little bit less this time around, and you can finish up. Frost Mage always had, I feel, a better design when it came to Mythic Plus. It feels like it's the Mythic Plus spec of Mage because of how...
it does great.
It does really good. And the way that Frozen Orb works, because Diablo 2 fan, the way that Frozen Orb works and Blizzard, like those are iconic. Blizzard? What?
Blizzard?
Who made the game? But that's iconic Frost Mage, okay? And the way they interact and they reduce each other's cooldown, and they kind of, you just spam shit, and don't let me get started on Glacial Spike, man. Like,
Oh, yeah,
do you
yeah,
remember in BFA, because the playstyle didn't really change, it's just that the numbers are different.
Yeah.
But in BFA, when a Frost Mage would pop glacial spikes, the tank would lose aggro almost all the
Yeah,
time.
it's
It
amazing.
was hilarious, and that is more satisfying than a Chaos Ball for me, because you see that spike growing on top of you. That's one of the coolest visual
Yes,
effects that it
again.
has. It could use a little bit of a audio upgrade in terms of its effects. It's fun to hear like the little icicle splash on the ground.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
But it could use a little bit more. But overall, for me, I think Frost Mage is ahead in Arcane. I'm reluctant to put it into S tier because the fact that it's just not doing competitive damage with the Elemental, for instance, it actually matters for me. If I'm ranged, I'm supposed to be able to do damage all the time, and that's a bigger factor for me, but it's definitely the funnest mage spec for me.
Yeah, I think it really wins a lot more in terms of the class fantasy stuff. Plus, it has all of these other tools outside of Icy Veins, right? Outside of Frozen Orb and all of that, right? This is the main, I think, the main difference between Fire and Frost is Fire is just combustion, spammy, Phoenix Flames, Pyroblast. Fireblast, yeah. So you're just spamming these, chaining all of these to pump up as many Flame Strikes or Pyroblast as possible, whilst Frost has a bigger array of options. Like you mentioned Glacial Spike, right? You mentioned like the Blizzard,
Yeah.
Frozen Orb.
Icelands has been getting a lot more love this time around.
Icelands too. There's a lot more to work with, and I feel that judging the performance and utility, of course, it does a lot of damage still. It's pretty good on that, but just the fact that you have much more to work with, it feels much more interesting, and the flow of it is really cool. I love it. I would put it into S tier, no doubt.
All right, let's put it into let's compromise and actually put it into S tier,
Yes.
because it's a really fun spec. I feel like in the argument of Fire versus Frost, Fire feels better in combustion than Frost feels in Icy Veins, but Frost
Sure,
just
but
feels way better overall.
You take overall the
Yeah.
experience. It just has a smoother thing going for it.
Wow,
and,
look at that! That's so
consistency.
symmetric. Yeah. Can we stop the video here? Like.
We have 2 more specs. Come on, let's go. Marksmanship.
Marksmanship. Actually, I was surprised at how fun marksmanship was at the start of BFA, and it's still fun. I mean, BFA, Jesus, Shadowlands, and it's still fun because I mean nothing really changed. Obviously, marksman is no longer the beast that it was at the beginning because marksman just did a lot of damage without a lot of gear. Not many other specs had that. Let's say that strength. Volley is really cool. I can finally play with lock and load, and I just love lock and load because aim shot just fucking trucks, man. It is amazing. And kill shot is obviously good for all the hunters, but it really feels at home with marksmanship. And I honestly really hope while testing this in beta that Venti would be the best covenant, because having flayed shot is amazing. Being able to fire kill shot procs just like Warrior gets with sudden death felt incredibly cool. And I just love the concept of just being so far away, man.
Yeah,
like,
man.
They've tried this, and this is one of the funnest thing that I personally find with marksman, and it's when they make mastery affect something other than damage and just like a utility thing. For marksman, it increases its range that it can fire at, and I can fire shots at like 40 something yards.
Yeah, you're on a different server
and pretty much
kill them all.
like 90% of the mechanics in the game have like a 30-35 yards range to them. They never hit you if you're at full range. It feels incredible.
So that being said, would you put it ahead of the A tiers? Would it be ahead of
either
Arcane?
ahead into A tier or bottom S tier, I would say.
S tier for sure, man. Let's give marksman, what it needs. I know sometimes, people talk about marksman. Oh, marksman is so meta, or it was, or whatever. But it never was the easiest hunter spec.
It wasn't.
How many expansions? I mean, I don't think I ever saw a marksman in BFA. I don't remember
it
too much
it
in
was
Legion.
close. BM just overtook it by a little bit. Marksman wasn't too far behind. I remember
it was time. It was time for marksman to shine.
It deserved its point, and we're gonna fight Sylvanas next year, and I'm a hunter, but I'm survival. But who knows? Who knows? I want that bow. I want that bow, man.
Yeah, man. You take the bow and you bring it to arenas.
Perfect.
Okay. Last but not least, the Shadow Priest. Can you feel the rhyme? Can you feel the fucking rhyme?
That's pretty good, man. You have a talent. You should do this for a living.
Sometimes, yes. I will rhyme for gold and WoW. But Shadow Priest, so we have recently concluded a podcast regarding Shadow Priest, and we have much more detail about it there, which will be posted next Monday. But in terms of like how we rated in terms of fun. I've played it. It's I would say in Mythic Plus is not the easiest thing to get used to. It's similar, I would say, maybe to Affliction, but not to that extent in terms of like micromanaging dots and stuff, and keeping your devouring plague up. I think I found that the most difficult. And unfortunately for me, I'm a Kyrian priest, right? Because I wanted to make this priest Kyrian to heal the Mythic Plus.
Oh no!
And it was so clunky. Like you would go into void form, and you had all of your buttons to press, like Mind Blast and instant void eruption and stuff, void bolt. Sorry. And then you had the fucking Kyrian Boon of Ascendance, right? And you don't have enough globals to do everything.
It's definitely
ridiculous. But that aside, even in Mythic Plus, I still found it so much fun to play. It's cool. There's something, I don't know, something really cool that attracts me, where you can dot a lot of the mobs and focus on a priority and make sure that one is going through, and then micromanaging everything on it. Plus the fantasy of going into void form, spawning your Scythe and stuff. Mindbender, yeah, Mindbender. I don't know. It just has the class fantasy to it and the mechanics.
Yeah, the fantasy is there. Oh well, I'm gonna say my piece. Where do you want to put it?
I would put it S tier.
S tier. All right. Now I will say my piece. First of all, let me start by saying that fuck Surrender to Madness. It was such a cool concept. I just don't like the current iteration. It's not fun. It's not fun to only have the effect while the mob survives and then just hope you will kill it. I guess it has an interesting skill cap to it that you have to manage it, but I just felt like the initial Surrender to Madness that was added was incredibly fun, where you just died at the end, but you just exploded in numbers. And I'm perfectly fine dying halfway through the boss's HP. If by the end I'm still number 1 in DPS, because it's just okay guys, I'm just gonna go take a piss and you guys finish the boss. I've already done 3 times your damage so far, so we'll see. That was an old concept, we'll see, because every time they're changing Surrender to Madness. Now with that out of the way, I personally think, if you've watched any amount of our content, that Shadow Priest, at least in Mythic Plus, is the survival hunter of AoE. Shadow Priest has so many things going for it. There's always something that you could be doing. There's always something that you can approach the pack a little bit differently. This time you can be spreading Devouring Plague. Maybe you're using Searing Nightmares. You can swap a few times here and around and have like a little different approach to the pack. I feel it's incredible. I'm not a big fan of how they've changed Void Eruption. Now it's a 1.5 minute cooldown. It's fine. I kind of like the if I'm good, I can just keep it for a very long time.
That's the thing.
It doesn't really work with certain affixes, and it's kind of shitty like if you have bullshit, because you kind of want pack to pack constant fights, and obviously with rogues that doesn't really work, and because you need to get out of combat and let them stealth back. But I feel like Shadow Priest is one of their best range specs designed. I feel like it's the dot part, I think it might be doing it a little bit better than Affliction, but I could just be biased, and for me Shadow Priest is top of S tier.
Okay, let's put it in the front. How about that? Was anybody expecting this? So
I did not expect this.
This is the range DPS tier list in Mythic Plus. Like, it's unbelievable. So we have Shadow Priest, Demonology Warlock, Elemental Shaman, Frost Mage, and Marksmanship Hunter. I mean, you talked about Fire Mage being in D tier, and I talked about Boomkin being in D tier, but we have to kind of compel our,
that's hard when we both play the same specs.
But I think overall it's looking pretty good. At least one of these specs that are on the S tier are definitely going to be very fast alts for us. Well, we do all the alts basically for the guides and stuff, but in terms of like, playing a bit more with them, so I'm definitely looking at Frost Mage, that zone over there, or even Arcane. I'm not decided yet in terms of my caster, but that being said, it's looking good. This is our idea of a fun range DPS in Mythic Plus. Yeah. Let us know what is your idea, maybe in the comments, down
below. What's S tier for you and what's D tier for you? Yeah. Let's see actually what people fun. Yeah, it's important. It's not just about meta, but yeah, that's gonna be really cool. And what else is gonna be really cool is our patrons continuously supporting our channel and everything that we do. Thank you very much. You actually make a lot of this happen. You make the tier list happen, the podcast, the new news biz that we have on Wednesday.
On cooldown version 3 or something. Global cooldown. cooldown.
Yeah, oh no, yeah, that's something's gonna have a name one day. But we also have the class changes for 9.1 because we're kind of done with the guides. Now we're just doing class updates, and of course the Twitch gang. God damn it, guys, you are wonderful. And if you, the viewer, are interested in supporting a little bit more, maybe you like what you see here. The links are down below. It's anything that you might be interested in. You say something now, man.
Thank you for watching up until this point.
All right.
And yeah, guys, have a great weekend ahead, all right?
Take care, everybody. Peace.
Bye.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.